Real estate investors hoping to buy up properties during the current real estate crisis are going to be left disappointed because this market is extremely different than 2008. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have a different topic for you today, and it's all about how the market now is completely different than the crash that we experienced back in 2008. So for those real estate investors who are watching my video who are older, you probably went through these tough times. Now, I wasn't investing in real estate back then, but I was a homeowner, and in 2008, I darn near lost my home because the market just flipped so bad. I lost my job and things were going pretty bad. Now, fortunately, I was able to sell my house at a loss, but still for enough to be able to pay off what I owed the bank and leave me debt free from the house. Okay, I still had all my credit card debt and all my other miscellaneous debts, but the house didn't end up getting foreclosed and I didn't have to short sell it or any of that nonsense, right? So the market now is completely different, and there's not nearly as many houses available that are falling into that kind of, dire straits where, people are trying, they're selling properties that are upside down. It's just not happening very often, okay? So this market, all of the protections that they put in place after the 2008 crash, well, they're probably actually helping and doing what their intended purpose was, and that's keeping the market from crashing like that ever again. So yeah, it's really quite interesting. I have a really cool article that kind of goes over the differences between what's happening now and what happened back then. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Were you a real estate investor back in 2008? And if so, what happened? Were you able to maintain? Did you have to sell any properties? Did you get knocked out completely? I mean, I know some people made it through fine. Buy and hold landlords usually were the ones who, they had 30-year fixed mortgages. They were doing just fine. A lot of small landlords in particular own properties outright. So even if the property values decline, we're still sitting pretty in a lot of cases, okay? But there were some landlords who got caught in a very bad situation where they were over leveraged and they suffered badly, immensely because of it. And I'm just curious what other people who are watching this video, what they went through. So let's get into the article. This article is coming from sanjosespotlight.com, and it says, Collins, how is today's housing market different than 2008? Yeah, it's very different, and the article can explain it a lot better than I can, so let's get into it. As the Federal Reserve raises interest rates in an attempt to reduce inflation, there is growing uncertainty in the economy. Some are worried about the increasing interest rates' impact on kitchen table issues, such as credit card bills and utilities. However, this anticipated economic downturn looks different from the last major economic decline of 2008. While there are several indicators this projected economic downturn might not be as severe as the Great Recession of 2008, one major indicator is the significant difference in the strength and resilience of the U.S. housing market. In a column I wrote a few months ago, I touched on some of the factors, and they are still relevant. Lawrence Yun, chief economist at the National Association of Realtors, delves deeper into the differences between what happened to the housing market during the Great Recession of 2008 and what is happening today. Whereas short sales and foreclosures were rampant back then, Yoon says the current housing inventory is about a quarter of what it was in 2008. So yeah, they back then, right, and I'm sure most of the people watching this, the people who watch my videos are older, right? But they built way too many houses, okay? They built just houses everywhere. I mean, honestly, I don't know if they built too many because, now all those houses are full. They got people living in them, right? But they built them all at the same time, just thinking the market was going to continue to grow and grow nonstop. And, the result was that, it ended up with a lot of homes being in foreclosure, So it's kind of crazy all the stuff that went on back then, just thinking about how bad that recession really was, right? I mean, we all lived it. And it was nightmarish, especially for people who lost their jobs, lost their homes, etc. I almost was in that category. I didn't lose my home, but barely barely held on to it, and I ended up in extreme debt just from trying to pay my bills with credit cards while I was unemployed for 6 months. Okay, so yeah, I mean, and I was in my late 20s at the time. And I just thought to myself, how am I ever going to recover from this? How am I ever going to come back and eventually have a better life? I thought it was the end at that point, right? And things, they turned out okay. It just took time. It took time for me to build my credit back up. It took time for me to pay all my debt off. And it took a lot of time for me to finally be able to, start investing in real estate, and then finally, eventually, start owning property. So yeah, I bought my first property in 2014, which was 6 years after 2008. It took me that long before I finally had my life put together enough, to be able to invest in real estate. And it's a crazy situation, but I don't think that this current recession that we're going through, or the current housing crisis we're going through, is anywhere near as bad as that one. Now, like they said, the housing inventory is so much lower that it will keep prices from just dropping down to rock bottom, and it will make it so that people who are selling are still able to get people who want to buy their homes, because there just isn't enough inventory around. So let me continue. These differences led Yoon to believe U.S. home prices will not experience a major decline in 2023 if mortgage rates remain at about 7%. His thinking is that with high inflation, elevated mortgage rates, and slowing home sales, the housing inventory will be severely limited, effectively preventing large drops in the price of homes. Essentially, the low turnover of homes will keep the value stable. While this is good news for existing homeowners, prospective buyers might have a tougher time breaking into the market. Nonetheless, we are seeing some positive trends. First-time home buyers comprised 29% of sales in September, holding steady from the August numbers and slightly higher than 28% from September of last year. The National Association of Realtors' 2021 profile of home buyers and sellers found that the annual share of first-time home buyers was 34%. This year, the average age of a first-time home buyer is 33 years old. So yeah, I mean, they say the average age for first-time home buyers has been constantly going up for a long time, right? And this is important for landlords because, one, we own the rental properties, okay? So when people, they can't afford homes, what they have to do? They have to rent, okay? So this could be a very, very strong market for landlords. Now, I know that there have been some price declines in some markets right now, but I think that overall we're going to continue to see growth. And, being that we have the ability to, raise our rents in most places, we should be able to keep up with inflation. So, this is, it's bad news in a way, but, we have to look at the positive side of it, at least in terms of if you're a landlord or not, right? For example, the Santa Clara County Realtors Foundation, the charitable arm of SCCAOR, recently launched the Down Payment Assistance Program to help Santa Clara County first-time home buyers in attaining home ownership. The fund will benefit Santa Clara County home buyers with an area median income of no more than 100%. The awarded funds are in the form of a grant, therefore repayment is not required. They spend so much time focusing on first-time home buyers, right? And I realize they make up, what is this, 34% of the market, right? But they're not talking about, hey, what about the other, 66% who are not first-time home buyers? Are they slowing down their purchasing? And even of the number, it's a greatly declined number. So, I don't think that focusing on first-time home buyers is the best thing. I don't understand why they're even trying to focus on that here in this article. But, from what I've seen is basically, this market, we're going to continue to see, inflated interest rates for a while. I don't know how long it's going to be. Now, I know there's been a recent decline where some interest rates have dropped down to around, I don't know, 5% or 5.5% within the last couple of weeks. So I mean that's positive, but when it comes down to it, I think that we are not going to be seeing those 2 to 3% interest rates that we were seeing just a short while ago. We're not going to be seeing that again anytime soon. So yeah, this market is completely different than back in 2008. I don't expect there to be huge price declines, and even the price declines that we do see, they're going to be mostly the appreciation that occurred within the last year or two. Not all. We're not going to go drop and cut the house price in half. A $500,000 house isn't suddenly going to be worth 250 grand. No, we might see a $500,000 house drop down 10% and now cost 450 grand. So that's what I expect, at least. But keep in mind, I'm not an economist. I'm just a real estate investor who's looking at the way the market seems right now. Now this could change, obviously, right? There could be a huge economic disruption. Something crazy happens with war or natural disaster. Who knows? But for now, it just looks like this isn't nearly as bad as it was back then.